What's up, guys? It's Nathaniel Harris from Scoop and Score, the channel bringing you videos on the past and present sports news and events. Today, I'm back with another video for the culture. The topic is going to be NFL draft busts. Every year, we get to look back and decide who won and who lost the draft. And every year, we get to see who did not live up to the hype. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the draft busts that we have seen in recent years. My definition of a draft bust is a player who was taken in the first round of the draft and either did not have an impact at all or never became the superstar that we all projected them to become. Mostly quarterbacks fall into this category, but it's not always the case. Players of all positions can be busts. I will look at first round drafts and compile a list of busts and talk about them in depth. My list will not be in any particular order, but if I miss anyone, comment below who you would like to see me talk about in another video. But with no further ado, let's get right into it. The first round of the 2019 NFL Draft came with some interesting picks, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember everyone being confused that the New York Giants selected Daniel Jones with the 6th pick. I also remember Las Vegas Raiders fans being very excited to have picked up Josh Jacobs to anchor their backfield. Ultimately, out of all 32 players selected in the first round, 2 ended up being complete busts from this draft: Dwayne Haskins and Garrett Bradbury. Dwayne Haskins was taken as the 15th overall pick by the Washington football team. Overall, this quarterback was a complete failure on every end of the spectrum. The only quarterback that is doing good for themselves as of 2020 that came from the 2019 draft is Kyler Murray. Haskins was drafted with the hopes of being the franchise quarterback on a team that he was not ready for and was not ready for him. When you pick a quarterback in the first round, you expect him to start and lead the team, but Haskins was so hyped up from out of college that I think team executives completely overlooked the fact that he had only played one college football season and didn't have the experience to move on to the NFL. He was not NFL ready, in my opinion, and never really was able to put it together in his first season with the football team. He started 7 games and put up 7 touchdowns with 7 interceptions for a disappointing 1,365 yards. What makes matters worse is that his 2020 sophomore season was no better. Yes, Haskins was thrown to the dogs and was expected to be NFL ready, but it also seemed like his work ethic was horrible. The 2020 season saw Haskins starting another 6 games before eventually being let go by the football team. Overall, picking Dwayne Haskins was a mistake for Washington. It was a 2-year investment that ended with Haskins being released and Washington being back at square one, needing a quarterback. Garrett Bradbury is another draft bust from the 2019 NFL Draft. Bradbury was the 18th overall pick and honestly has not been talked about ever since. Being a center is no doubt hard in the NFL. With the speed and athleticism of defensive linemen increasing, it's kind of hard to be mad at a center for not being productive. But this shouldn't be the case for Bradbury. When you're drafted in the first round, teams expect a lot from you, and the Vikings were no different with Bradbury. As a first-round center and the first center taken in the draft, the Vikings were hoping for an NFL-ready, all-around protector. What they ended up getting was a bust, and it's no doubt sad. Instead of being a well-rounded center, Bradbury turned out to only be one-dimensional. As a center, you have to be able to run, block, and pass protect well, but Bradbury was only good in the run game. Pro Football Focus lists Bradbury as the Vikings' worst draft mistake over the last 5 years, and I agree. He's been horrible in the passing game, allowing 9 sacks in 2 seasons. Also, in those 2 seasons that he played, he's been rated the worst center in the league. The center is supposed to be the anchor in the passing game, and if you're letting defensive tackles get through the line, that just makes the defensive end's job that much easier. The only reason Bradbury has not been cut yet is that he does so well in the run game that it's kind of hard to replace him, and it is hard to find centers in this league. But considering that he was drafted in the first round, he should have been more well-rounded, and he should have produced more for the Vikings. Josh Rosen is by far the biggest bust of the 2018 NFL Draft. Drafted as the number 10 pick to the Arizona Cardinals, Rosen was supposed to be the future of the team. Arizona was going through a rebuilding period, and the best place to start with is usually the quarterback. Even though Rosen was picked at number 10, he was still the fourth quarterback taken. The Cardinals were expecting Rosen to blend in well with the offense and get them on the right path, but Rosen never lived up to the hype. In his first season, he led the Cardinals to a 3-10 record for the games that he started, which was only 13. This led to the Cardinals being the number 1 pick in the 2019 draft, where they ultimately decided to move on from Rosen for Kyler Murray. Rosen was lucky enough to get a second chance with the Miami Dolphins, but ultimately he failed there as well, going 0-3 in the games that he started. Although Josh Rosen was the 4th quarterback picked in the 2019 draft, the Cardinals picked him in hopes of turning the franchise around. He did not live up to his hype at all and failed miserably on 2 different teams. As of right now, in 2020, he is a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, but a backup. And with the 49ers having the 3rd pick in the 2020 draft, we could almost guarantee that it would pick a quarterback, leaving Rosen without a job for the 3rd time in his career. The first round of the 2017 NFL Draft concluded with some talented players being taken, with the likes of Myles Garrett, Jamal Adams, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson. While many teams hit the mark, others completely missed it. For me, there are 2 notable busts from this draft, and they are wide receiver John Ross and Ruben Foster. John Ross's hype coming out of college was unreal. It seemed like scout after scout was comparing him to Deshaun Jackson. When Ross ran a 4.2 40-yard dash at the combine, it was unreal. No prospect had ever run that fast at the combine, and considering that speedy wide receivers are just becoming the norm, this was impressive. Sadly, Ross never really lived up to this hype. In 4 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, Ross never really gained traction. He has been injury prone, and as we know, injured players can't produce. He's only played in 27 out of the 64 possible games, and this is honestly disappointing. I'm surprised that it took 4 seasons for the Bengals to release him. As a GM, I would have gotten rid of him for some type of value a long time ago. Being a first-round pick in the draft means that after your first season, there's still value in you, and the Bengals could have offloaded him for more draft picks or a more promising player. Fortunately for Ross, the Bengals took 4 long seasons to give up on him. Now, as the 2021 season gets ready to begin, the New York Giants have given him a second chance. In regards to the draft, so far he has been a bust. Hopefully, he can prove us otherwise this season and turn his career around. Ruben Foster is another player coming out of the 2017 draft that has been a complete bust. As far as the draft goes, Foster was picked at 31st overall to the San Francisco 49ers. He played 2 seasons for the 49ers and was named to the 2017 NFL All-Rookie team. Foster showed promise in his first season, starting 10 games with 56 solo tackles. His second season is where things took a turn. In 2018, Foster only played 6 games because of injuries and ultimately got released when he was arrested for domestic abuse. Like many NFL busts, Foster got a second chance. After getting released by the 49ers, the Washington football team claimed him off of waivers. So, in 2020, after being suspended for the entire 2019 season, finally got to make his second chance come to life. Unfortunately for Foster, he never stepped on the field. We are now going into Foster's 5th NFL season, and he's only played 16 games. So, for him to be a first-round pick, he definitely qualifies as a bust. The 49ers completely wasted a pick on him and he gave them little to no production in return. The bust I have chosen out of the 2016 draft is Keanu Neal. Neal was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons to be their starting free safety. Being one of 2 safeties taken in the first round, the Falcons had high hopes in Neal. In college, Neal was known for being able to blitz, cover, and being able to hit hard. All good traits for a free safety in the NFL. Unfortunately for Neal, he never really got to express the traits on the field. In 5 seasons for the Falcons, Neal only played in 3, amassing a dismal 2 interceptions. Neal and his ability to be injury prone has really been a downfall for him. The Falcons would have been better overall just picking a whole different player and avoiding spending money for a player that barely played. As for Neal, he is finally all healed up and ready to get back on the field in 2021. The Falcons released him, and ever since then, the Dallas Cowboys have been all over him. Instead of playing safety this season, he will be playing outside linebacker. This transition can honestly help Neal in the long run. Maybe at this new position he'll be more productive and make me eat my words for calling him a bust. But as for now, I will call him a bust until he proves me wrong. The 2015 draft has one of the most interesting stories on this list. It is rare that you see the first and second overall picks become busts, but here we are. Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston were both hyped up coming out of college, as both had promising college careers, but the NFL proved too much for them to handle, and they both ended up as busts in my opinion. As far as production goes, Winston is not your typical bust. Picked first overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Winston was projected to be an instant starter, or basically the man. In 4 seasons as a starter for Tampa Bay, Winston went 28-42, which is a horrible record for a guy who was supposed to be the savior of this team. Another downfall was his interception rate. Winston amassed 88 interceptions in those 4 seasons, 11 of those being pick sixes. It seemed as though Winston was not as ready as expected. Going number 1 overall means that you are well-rounded and that there is a consensus that you are the best player at your position in the draft. With the way that Winston has played so far, he could have easily fallen back in the draft and saved Tampa Bay from this catastrophe. After those 4 long seasons, the Buccaneers finally called it quits on Winston. He then signed with the division rival, the New Orleans Saints. At the time, the Saints were still working with the legend Drew Brees, so having Winston as a backup was just to make sure you had someone to replace Brees if he got hurt. To everyone's surprise, Brees did get hurt, but Winston barely got to step in. He never started, and he only completed 7 passes for 0 touchdowns. Now that Brees is retired, however, only time will tell if he will actually get his second chance. Marcus Mariota was the 2nd overall pick in the 2015 draft, and there was probably more hype around him than Jameis Winston. I remember being so excited to see another good-armed, mobile quarterback come out of college. Sadly, Mariota did not last long, qualifying him to be a bust. The Tennessee Titans drafted Mariota with the hopes that he would fill the hole at quarterback and provide them with a dual threat on offense. This dream kinda came true, but it was short-lived. Just like Winston, Mariota only played 4 seasons for the team that drafted him. His quarterback record for the Titans was 29-32, which is just under 500, but it was the underlying reason that ultimately led him to be let go. In 2019, Mariota had finished his rookie contract, and the Titans never signed him back. Mariota had battled injuries that prevented him from finishing the 2019 season, and his backup, Ryan Tannehill, stepped in and played well enough that they didn't need Mariota no more as a backup or as a starter. After being released by the Titans, Mariota found himself signing with the Las Vegas Raiders. Since then, he has only stepped on the field a couple of times, as he is the backup quarterback for Derek Carr. In March of 2021, Mariota was offered to test free agency. He ultimately declined all offers and decided to take a pay cut to stay with the Raiders. Personally, I think that move is not smart. He might have been a bust, but when the NFL gives you a 3rd chance, you take it. But instead, he took his pay cut and may never see the field again. All in all, because of this, he is a bust. And I wish that he would have done better for himself, because his career really had promise, and it's just sad to say. Draft day is always an exciting day for NFL fans and teams. The thrill of watching your team deliberate and draft who they hope will be the future of the team is seriously better than watching some games. As I have been showing you, some teams find players that go on to have great careers, and some teams find players that never make it past their first season. This process gives us superstars, draft busts, and hidden gems. Today, I have gave you some of the biggest busts from recent years. I hope that you enjoyed the video. My name is Nathaniel Harris for Scoop and Score, signing off.